of my most favorite planes to fly in Microsoft Flight Simulator is the Douglas DC-3. Here we're looking at the Douglas R4D-8, later designated the C-117D as a military transport aircraft, and that was developed from the civilian Douglas DC-3S, or the Super DC-3. Pretty interesting aircraft. Let's go to the wiki page. Alright, the Douglas R4D-8, later redesignated the C-117D, is a military transport aircraft developed from the civilian Douglas DC-3S, or the Super DC-3 airliner. It was used by the United States Navy and the United States Marine Corps during the Korean and Vietnam War. During World War II, the armed forces of many countries used the C-47 and modified DC-3s for the transport of troops, cargo, and wounded. The U.S. Navy designation was R4D. More than 10,000 aircraft were produced in Long Beach and Santa Monica, California, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Between March 1943 and August 1945, the Oklahoma City plant produced 5,354 C-47s. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, the Super DC-3. Large numbers of DC-3s and surplus C-47s were in commercial use in the United States in the 1940s. In response to proposed changes to the Civil Air Regulations airworthiness requirements that would limit the continuing use of these aircraft, Douglas offered a late 1940s DC-3 conversion to improve takeoff and single-engine performance. You know, when one engine went down, single-engine performance. Alright, the fuselage of the DC-3S, or Super DC-3, was strengthened and lengthened by 3 feet 3 inches in front of the wings. The wing center section remained the same, but the outer wing panels had a 4-degree trailing edge sweep, squared off wingtips that reduced the wingspan by 5 feet 5 inches. There is also a new square tail fin with a large dorsal fillet that was 1 foot taller than the DC-3s to compensate for the increased torque from the more powerful engines, either the 1,475 horsepower Wright R1820-80 Cyclones or the 1,450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney R2000 Twin Wasps with short jet ejection type exhaust stacks could be fitted. Alright. Other features include fully retractable landing gear, larger engine nacelles, small airliner-style door, squared-off tail surfaces, partially retractable tail wheel flush rivets, low-drag antenna. With greater than 75% of the original DC-3 C-47 configuration changed, the modified design was virtually a new aircraft. The first DC-3S made its maiden voyage on 23 June 1949. The changes fully met the new FAR 4B airworthiness requirements, and up to 38 passengers could be carried with increased speed to compete with new airliners. Douglas offered to convert existing aircraft to DC-3S configuration for $150,000 per aircraft. However, little interest was expressed by commercial operators in the DC-3S. Here we're going to look at the specs of the DC-3S, the Super DC-3. Not going to go through all of it, but here at the performance, maximum speed 270 miles an hour. That's cooking right along. Cruise speed about 250 miles per hour, 2,500 mile range, service ceiling of 22,500. I'd never get anywhere near that. Rate of climb 1,300 feet per minute. Overall, the DC-3 is a fantastic plane to fly. Takeoff and landing is almost on autopilot. It can get into unimproved areas pretty good, short field landing stuff. I just love flying this plane. I'm having a blast with the what they call the prop liners. And as they say, the only plane to replace a DC-3 is another DC-3. In fact, another company, Basler, has taken some of these older DC-3s and reconfigured them and redesigned and rebuilt them into twin turboprops, and these things are flying all over the world with upgraded avionics suites and all that. We'll get into that a little bit later in this series if we get that far. But anyway, these Basler turboprops, they're reconfigured and rebuilt enough that when they come off the assembly line, they're brand new planes as far as the FAA is concerned. And and start at 0 frame hours. Pretty cool. This plane's 75 years old and still flying. And so we're going to go through the startup procedure here and show you what it takes to get this bad boy running. Here we are in the cockpit of my Super DC-3. As you can see, it's been upfitted new steam gauges and the overhead control panel, much like what is in the Basler turboprop. Alright, in the captain's seat here. Come over. We'll get our clipboard for the checklist. Before starting, doors closed. Checked. Parking brake set. Checked. Battery on. Checked. Generators on. Checked. Nav lights and beacon on. Check. Pitot heat off. Prop ice off. Carb heat off. Pitot heat is off. Prop anti-ice, all anti-ice is off. Carb heat off. Check, check, check. Fuel gauges checked. We have fuel. Mains and auxiliaries, nothing in the wings. Check. Fuel valves, check. Mains. Check. Trim, 0. Check. Cowl flaps, open. Come over to my clipboard here. I'll drag that over here for you to see. This is an interactive clipboard that the creators of this plane provided, and we can go here. Cowls open 100%. Check. Alright, on to starting the engines. Fuel mixture auto rich. We do that over here on this clipboard. Auto rich, and the levers came up automatically to the auto rich setting. Throttle cracked 10%. We're at 11, check. Propeller control, full forward. Full forward on the propellers, check. Fuel boost pump, on. We're going to start the right engine first, which is engine number 2. Main fuel pump, on. Starter switch, we want to see 9 blades. Turn, we'll hit the mags on both. Prime if needed. Starter switch. Mags on engine number 2, both. Prime. Engine started. Alright, same procedure. We'll start engine number 1, the left-hand engine. Fuel pump on. Starter on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, getting a little easier, 7, 8, magnetos, prime, hit the prime one more time. There we go, there we go. Come on, engine number 1, there you go, there you go. We got startup, we got startup. Quick look through the gauges. Pressure's coming up. Engine number 1 needle's coming up. Everything's in the green. Looking good. Looking good. Last thing on the checklist, flaps. And they are all the way up. That's how you start the engines of a Super DC-3. Put the checklist back in the pocket for now. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. Next up, we'll be taking a flight in the Super DC-3.